I never thought a stupid bet could change my life. But that morning, when my friends were teasing, laughing, and tossing ideas back and forth, I thought it was harmless. Just a little challenge, something to prove I had guts. Little did I know, that one reckless moment would turn everything upside down. It started in the schoolyard. "I bet you won't wear a dress to school tomorrow," my friend Jenna laughed, eyes sparkling with mischief. The others hooted and nudged me, daring me, teasing me. I smirked, trying to play it cool. "Ha! Easy. I'll do it," I said, pretending to be fearless, not realizing how quickly my words would trap me. A bet was a bet, right? Just a harmless joke. Nothing more. But the next morning, the reality hit me like a truck. I stared at my closet, heart racing, palms sweaty. A dress. Not just any dress, a pink, frilly, over-the-top thing that shimmered under the light. I had never worn anything like it. Never imagined myself in anything so feminine. I swallowed hard, hesitated, then slipped into it. The fabric clung to my skin, soft yet foreign. I tugged at the hem nervously, my chest tightening with embarrassment. My sneakers had to be replaced with heels, of course, another cruel requirement by Jenna, who had insisted on the full look. I tried to walk in them. My legs wobbled like jelly. Each step felt like a challenge, each movement a test of my dignity. I hated myself. I hated the bet. I hated the thrill creeping in through fear. The moment I stepped outside, the stares began. Neighbors, classmates, even the mailman, every pair of eyes seemed to slice through me, judging, whispering, silently mocking. My face burned red. I wanted to vanish, to melt into the pavement, but I kept moving. Step by step, wobble by wobble. Jenna strolled beside me, laughing, clapping me on the back. "You're actually doing it. Wow," she said. But even in her praise, I could feel the sting of humiliation. Every laugh, every cheer, was a reminder that I had lost control, that my pride was now someone else's entertainment. By the time we reached school, my knees ached from the heels, my arms ached from trying to hold myself upright, and my chest felt like it was on fire from nerves. Students whispered as I walked past. "Is that really him?" someone murmured. I gritted my teeth, forcing a stiff smile, trying to survive the rest of the day. Lunchtime was the worst. Sitting in the cafeteria, everyone staring, some recording videos on their phones. I felt like a display, an exhibit, a joke made flesh. Every movement was exaggerated, every word measured. I laughed when forced to, nodded when spoken to, and tried to make it through the hour without collapsing from embarrassment. But amidst the humiliation, something unexpected happened. A few classmates smiled genuinely at me. A friend whispered, "You look good." Their words were soft, hesitant, but sincere. And for a moment, I felt a flicker of something I didn't understand, pride. Not the kind that comes from winning, but from surviving, enduring, and somehow looking okay. After school, I went home, legs aching, chest tight. I tore off the dress, threw it on the bed, and flopped down. My mind raced. How could a stupid bet lead to this? My friends laughed at my expense, yet inside me, something had shifted. The experience, as humiliating as it was, had exposed a part of me I had never known, a side curious, vulnerable, and strangely exhilarated by this new identity. I found myself sneaking glances at the dress later that evening. Tentatively, I picked it up, feeling the texture, imagining how it felt on my skin. Then came the makeup, which I had initially avoided, blush, eyeliner, lip gloss. My fingers trembled as I experimented, painting my face, reshaping my appearance in the mirror. The reflection staring back at me was someone familiar yet foreign. A shiver ran through me. Embarrassment mixed with a secret thrill I didn't want to admit. Could I actually like this? Could I feel empowered, even in something so humiliating, something that had started as a joke? The following days became a mix of fear and experimentation. I tried to balance school life with this new curiosity. I practiced walking differently, experimenting with voice and posture in private. Each time I caught my reflection, I noticed subtle differences, how my body moved, how my expressions softened, how my gestures became fluid. And gradually, the fear began to morph into something else, confidence. The same outfits that had once felt like instruments of humiliation became tools for self-expression. I learned to tilt my chin just so, smile without shame, walk with grace despite the heels. It wasn't natural at first, but with each experiment, I honed my movements, my expressions, my presence. I realized that the bet, as ridiculous as it was, had forced me into a world I hadn't chosen. But within it, I discovered the power to navigate attention, scrutiny, and curiosity with control. I wasn't just surviving, I was learning to thrive in this new persona. Social challenges escalated. A weekend party, Jenna's idea, meant showing up fully dressed in front of dozens of classmates and neighbors. Panic clawed at my chest as I stood in front of the mirror, the dress perfectly styled, hair curled, makeup flawless. My reflection looked confident, almost radiant, and yet my mind screamed with anxiety. When I walked into the room, every eye turned toward me. Murmurs ran through the crowd, but I remembered the lessons I had practiced in private: posture, tilt of the chin, gentle gestures. Step by step, I moved confidently, greeted friends, answered questions. Laughter wasn't mockery, it was social energy I could ride, not something that could crush me. By the end of the night, exhausted but exhilarated, I realized something transformative. I had survived judgment, scrutiny, and embarrassment, and I had discovered a new dimension of myself, one capable of poise, resilience, and even empowerment. The bet that started as a joke had forced me into humiliation, but it had also unlocked curiosity, self-awareness, and the thrill of mastery. I practiced walking, talking, moving like someone completely different, and with each small success, my confidence grew. I could hold a room's attention, respond to scrutiny, and even enjoy the subtle thrill of performance. One evening, alone in my room, I slipped into the dress again. This time, it felt different, not a trap, not humiliation. I moved in front of the mirror, experimenting with gestures, voice, expressions. I smiled softly, tilted my head, let my posture relax. The reflection staring back at me wasn't a joke, a dare, or a humiliation. It was a version of myself I hadn't met before, someone capable, confident, and alive. And in that moment, I understood. The bet had changed me, yes. But it hadn't destroyed me. It had forced me to discover courage, curiosity, and empowerment in a world I hadn't chosen, but had learned to inhabit fully. Over time, I began to embrace the lessons of that bet. I experimented publicly, in small doses, learning to navigate attention and curiosity with grace. Friends who once teased now watched with genuine respect. The thrill of transformation became intoxicating, not because of humiliation, but because of the mastery I had achieved over fear. By the time I reflected on it months later, the bet seemed almost prophetic. It had pushed me into discomfort, exposure, and embarrassment, but in doing so, it had revealed strength, confidence, and a side of myself I would never have discovered otherwise. I wasn't just the boy who lost a bet. I was someone resilient, adaptable, and capable of inhabiting a persona with poise, charm, and courage. The bet had forced me to dress, yes, but it had also forced me to discover myself. And when I smiled at my reflection in the mirror that night, I realized the truth. I had been changed forever, not by humiliation, not by force, but by the courage to step into the unknown and claim a side of myself I never knew existed. That evening, when the house finally emptied and the laughter of my friends faded into memory, I found myself alone with the dress I had worn to school. I sat on my bed, staring at it, fingers brushing the fabric. The soft pink shimmered under the dim lamp, delicate yet impossibly bold. My heart pounded as I imagined stepping back into it, not for a dare this time, but for myself. I picked up the makeup kit Jenna had jokingly handed me at school. Foundation, blush, mascara, all alien tools, yet oddly inviting. Tentatively, I dabbed foundation onto my skin, blending it awkwardly. My reflection seemed softer, unfamiliar, yet compelling. A blush across my cheeks made my heart flutter in ways I couldn't name. I tried on the heels again, wobbling, gripping the bedpost for balance. Each step was painstaking, but each wobble brought a strange thrill. I tilted my chin, straightened my shoulders, and watched as my reflection adjusted itself to my movements. A subtle shift was happening. I was learning, experimenting, exploring. The more I tried, the more I became aware of my body in new ways. My hands, my arms, the way I moved my hips, it was like learning a secret language. I practiced crossing my legs, turning my wrists delicately, softening my voice. At first, it felt awkward, fake, but gradually, small glimpses of elegance emerged. I was beginning to inhabit this persona, even in private, and it was intoxicating. I laughed nervously at myself, imagining how absurd it must look. Yet the mirror reflected something else too, a spark of confidence I hadn't known existed. I felt alive, aware, vulnerable, and strangely empowered. My chest tightened not just with embarrassment, but with anticipation, curiosity, and fascination. I experimented with expressions, smiling, tilting my head, softening my gaze. Each attempt revealed a new nuance, a new way to present myself, and with every small discovery, the thrill grew. I was learning to wield attention, even if only from my own reflection. Hours passed without notice. I practiced walking along the edge of the room in heels, experimenting with posture and movement. My steps became slightly more assured, my gestures more fluid. I whispered to myself, mimicking voices I had admired in others, finding a tone that was tentative yet expressive. At some point, I realized I was no longer just performing a dare or a bet. I was exploring an entirely new side of myself, curious, vulnerable, and undeniably alive. The embarrassment was still there, but it was now laced with exhilaration. I felt a rush of something forbidden, a thrill in inhabiting this new identity, even if the world outside had forced me here. By the time I finally removed the dress, collapsed onto my bed, and let out a long sigh, I understood something startling. This wasn't just about losing a bet anymore. Something had shifted inside me. I had discovered curiosity, a sense of control, and even a small, secret empowerment. And in that quiet moment, I realized that the bet had opened a door, not just to humiliation, but to a side of myself I had never met. The question lingered, soft but insistent: could I explore this further? Could I survive, and maybe even thrive, in this unexpected world? The next morning, reality hit harder than I expected. The bet wasn't over. I had to step out, fully dressed, heels clicking against the pavement, makeup carefully applied, hair curled just right. My reflection in the mirror made me flinch. The girl staring back at me wasn't entirely me, yet I could sense hints of my own curiosity and growing confidence lurking beneath the surface. I tried to steady my breathing as I stepped outside. The air was crisp, the world buzzing with indifferent energy, yet suddenly I felt every eye turn toward me. Neighbors paused mid-chore, cars slowed at the curb, and classmates walking past did double takes. My chest tightened, my hands trembled, and the heels felt suddenly unforgiving. Jenna trailed behind, smirking, whispering, "Relax. Own it. You look amazing." Her praise was teasing, yet somehow it grounded me. Step by step, I moved forward, each wobble reminding me of my private rehearsals the night before. I tilted my chin, straightened my shoulders, and tried to walk as if I belonged here, even though I felt like an imposter in my own skin. By the time we reached school, the whispers and stares were deafening. Students pointed, murmured, even recorded videos with their phones. I wanted to disappear. I wanted to vanish into the ground. And yet, the techniques I had practiced, the tilt of the chin, the soft sway of my hips, the careful cadence of my steps, kept me upright. I could meet gazes, respond with a shy smile, and somehow survive the scrutiny. Lunchtime was brutal. Sitting alone, balancing a tray of food, I felt like an exhibit in a museum. Someone nudged their friend, "Is that really him?" A snicker escaped from the corner of the cafeteria. My face burned red, and my hands shook slightly as I picked up a fork. Then something unexpected happened. A classmate, someone I never thought would be kind, whispered, "You actually look good." It was soft, hesitant, and fleeting, but it struck me. For a brief moment, I realized that surviving scrutiny wasn't just about endurance. It could be about presence, confidence, and even subtle admiration. My heart fluttered with an unfamiliar, intoxicating mix of pride and thrill. Over the following days, public outings became both challenge and discovery. Each step, each glance, each whispered comment taught me something about resilience, self-presentation, and poise. I experimented with gestures, expressions, and voice modulation. Small victories, the first compliment from a stranger, the ability to navigate attention without panic, became milestones in my unexpected transformation. The first real test came at a weekend party Jenna arranged. My nerves were electric as I stood before the mirror, fully dressed in a flowing teal dress, hair curled, makeup immaculate. My reflection radiated confidence I didn't entirely feel yet, but I had learned to inhabit it. Walking into the party, all eyes turned toward me. Murmurs ran through the crowd, some surprised, some impressed. My heels clicked on the floor, each step deliberate, each movement fluid. I greeted friends, engaged in conversation, and for the first time, felt the thrill of attention as something empowering, not humiliating. By the end of the night, exhausted but exhilarated, I understood something profound. The bet had forced me into discomfort, humiliation, and exposure, but it had also revealed a side of myself capable of confidence, poise, and even enjoyment. I wasn't just surviving this persona anymore, I was learning to thrive in it. Each subsequent outing reinforced this lesson. Cafes, parks, malls, I experimented with gestures, posture, and subtle expressions of femininity. Encounters that would have once left me frozen now became exercises in mastery. Even when someone recognized me and whispered, "Wait, is that him?" I could respond with poise, a soft smile, and calm confidence. Slowly, I realized a truth I hadn't anticipated: the world outside could no longer intimidate me entirely. I had discovered resilience, adaptability, and even joy in inhabiting a side of myself that began as a forced dare but evolved into self-expression. By the time I returned home after one particularly nerve-wracking day at the mall, my legs sore from heels and cheeks flushed, I smiled quietly at my reflection. This persona, born of a reckless bet, had become a teacher. I had survived humiliation, navigated social scrutiny, and found a strange, thrilling sense of empowerment I could never have imagined.